Welcome to The Debate. We often think of sleep as, a passive state, a void where you just turn off, the lights go out, and the body goes limp. But if you really look at the biomechanics of it, sleep isn't a hiatus. It's a performance. It's a physiological act that lasts 8 hours, night after night. Tonight, we're analyzing the stage directions for that performance. Specifically, does the geometry of how you lie down actually determine your biological destiny?
That's a fascinating way to frame it, because the body is constantly sending messages through posture, even when we're unconscious. Whether you sprawl out like a crime scene victim, or you curl up tight like a pill bug, you are making a biological trade-off. You're prioritizing one system, say skeletal support, over another, like digestion or even breathing.
Precisely. And the central question we're tackling today is this: is there an objectively superior way to sleep? We are weighing orthopedic perfection, the alignment of your actual frame, against physiological maintenance, things like brain chemistry, airway clearance, and digestion.
So it's a battle between structural integrity and internal fluid dynamics. We know that, something like 40% of people instinctively curl up into that fetal position, while others lie flat, like, as you said, timber waiting for the sawmill. Each one offers distinct medical benefits, but maybe more importantly, they carry some pretty severe physical penalties that build up over decades.
And I'll be taking the position that the human frame is fundamentally architectural. I'm going to argue for back sleeping, specifically the soldier and starfish positions, as the holy grail of orthopedic health. My stance is that neutral spine alignment and minimizing external pressure are paramount for long-term health and maybe surprisingly for dermatological preservation.
Okay, and I'll be taking the opposing view. I am arguing for side sleeping, the log, the fetal, the uriner, as the elite strategy for our internal biology. My whole argument is that we're biological organisms. We're not statues. And the need for brain waste clearance, for airway patency, and digestive health, well, that significantly outweighs a desire for perfect skeletal rigidity.
All right, so let's begin with the structural argument. When we talk about the soldier position, lying flat on the back, arms at your sides, we're describing the only position that genuinely respects the geometry of the human frame. I like to think of it as a system reboot.
A reboot implies you're shutting the machine down to a neutral state. I'd argue a reboot that, cuts off the air supply isn't much of a fix. But go on, please establish the case for the reboot first.
Well, it's fundamentally about neutrality. When you lie flat on your back, your head, your neck, and your spine maintain a perfect, stacked alignment. There's no twisting, no torque, no crunching of the vertebrae. And provided your mattress isn't a 30-year-old hammock, it supports the natural lumbar curve. You're allowing gravity to distribute your mass evenly. It's the anatomical equivalent of a deep sigh of relief for the skeleton.
I can see the appeal of the geometry. It's basically the anatomical position, just horizontal.
Exactly. And it goes beyond just the skeleton. We have to talk about the cosmetic benefits, which people often dismiss as vanity, but are actually about tissue damage. When you sleep on your back, your face is free. It's not being smashed into a pillow for, 2,500 hours a year? We see these sleep lines in dermatology. They're permanent wrinkles, etched into the skin not by aging, but by mechanical force.
So you're saying gravity is basically ironing you out, rather than crumpling you up.
That's a great way to put it. And let's not forget about bacteria pillowcases. By facing the ceiling, you prevent a lot of acne that's caused by drooling into fabric and then rubbing your face in it. You're preserving your collagen and your vertebrae at the same time.
Vanity is a strong motivator, I'll give you that. But let's look at that variation you mentioned, the starfish.
Right. So, for those who find the soldier too restrictive, the starfish is the alternative. Arms up near the pillow, legs spread. It looks chaotic, I know, like you fell from a building, but it maximizes your surface area for heat dissipation. If you're someone who runs hot, this is your radiator. It also completely relieves the rotator cuff because the shoulders aren't bearing any weight. It is the ultimate release of tension.
I appreciate the architectural purity of your argument. I really do.
But I just don't buy that we should treat the body like a building where the goal is just to stand up straight. We are fluid-filled vessels. And so I'm championing the side sleeping positions because they acknowledge that our internal processes require gravity's assistance.
Gravity can be a helper or a hindrance. So how does side sleeping harness it better than the even distribution you get on your back?
Okay, so let's start with the most critical organ, the brain. We have this concept of the brain's night shift janitor. It's called the Glymphatic System. Now, for listeners who haven't heard of it, it's essentially the brain's waste clearance system.
Right, it clears out the metabolic byproduct of all that neural activity.
Correct. When you sleep, your glial cells, the brain's support cells, they literally shrink. They get smaller to create more space between the neurons. This allows cerebral spinal fluid to rush in and wash away waste proteins, specifically beta amyloid and tau. And those are the specific gunk proteins that are linked to Alzheimer's and other neurodegenerative diseases.
And you're suggesting your sleeping position affects this microscopic flushing mechanism.
The research strongly indicates it does. Studies, mostly on rodents, but they're extrapolated to human hydrodynamics, suggest that sleeping on your side is the most efficient gravity assist for this whole process. You are essentially tilting the tank to let the sewage drain out more effectively than when you're flat on your back. If the goal is to wake up with a brain that's been detailed by a professional cleaning crew, well, side sleeping is the elite strategy.
That is a compelling point on the neurobiology. But are you just ignoring the mechanical stress required to achieve that?
Not at all. But I am prioritizing survival mechanisms. I mean, look at the fetal position. It's the universal human sign for I am safe, leave me alone. It shields all the vital organs. It turns the sleeper into an impenetrable biological pebble. Evolutionarily, that's safety. And functionally, and this is the big one, it's an anti-gravity hack for your airway. By sleeping on your side, you physically stop the tongue from collapsing backward. You keep the windpipe open.
And that brings us directly to the core of our disagreement, the airway versus the spine. You called the soldier position a reboot, but I've heard sleep specialists call it the nemesis of the airway.
It absolutely is. When you lie flat in that perfect alignment you love so much, gravity is acting directly on your jaw and your tongue. It pulls them backward. The soft tissues of the palate collapse. And the result isn't a silent reboot, it's loud, wall-shaking, marriage-ending snoring.
Okay, I will concede that for a specific subset of the population, back sleeping presents airway challenges.
It's not just a challenge. For people with obstructive sleep apnea, the soldier position is dangerous. You are essentially choking yourself over and over all night. You're prioritizing a straight spine over oxygenating your blood. If you're snoring, you're waking up tiny amounts hundreds of times a night. So you might have a straight back, sure, but you'll have a foggy brain and a strained heart.
I see why you emphasize that, and for apnea patients, that is a critical point. However, let me give you a different perspective on the fetal position. You call it a biological pebble, but I call it a compression machine.
Compression suggests support, doesn't it?
No, in this context, it suggests restriction. When you curl up really tightly, chin to your chest, knees up to your eyeballs, you are actively restricting your diaphragm. Your diaphragm needs to descend to pull air into the lungs. If you're curled into a tight ball, you're asking your lungs to work inside a trash compactor.
That is a vivid, if disturbing, image.
And an accurate one. It leads to shallow breathing. Less oxygen gets to your tissues because you just can't take a full breath. This is why a lot of strict fetal sleepers wake up feeling like they ran a marathon. They haven't rested, they've spent 8 hours in a low oxygen hold. And we haven't even touched on the joints yet.
The hips, I assume you mean?
Hips and knees. If you stay in a tight ball for 8 hours, you're stressing those joints. You're shortening your hip flexors, which are already tight from sitting all day. You're potentially causing arthritic flare-ups before you're even 40. So while you claim to be saving the airway, you're ruining the joints and restricting your lungs. The soldier position for those with a strong airway avoids all of that.
That's a fair critique of the tight fetal position. But let's look at the other side of it, the neurological toll of your starfish, and the reality of the side sleeper who isn't curled up, like the yearner or the log.
Go on.
You said the starfish relieves the rotator cuff, but have you thought about claw hand?
Ah, you're referring to ulnar nerve impingement.
Exactly. The ulnar nerve runs through your elbow. That's your funny bone. Having your arms up over your head for 8 hours stretches that nerve right around the bone. You wake up with numb, useless pinky and ring fingers. It's nerve damage in slow motion.
That is a valid risk for the starfish, I agree. But let's talk about side sleeping, specifically the yearner, where the arms are stretched out in front.
It's a compromise. By extending the arms, you open the chest more than the log position, which helps with that breathing issue you brought up. But I'll admit, it comes with a tax.
A significant tax. It puts tension on the brachial plexus. That's that massive nerve network running from your neck into your arm. It's why yearners wake up with numb fingers. And with the log arms straight down, you are just crushing one shoulder joint with your entire body weight.
It's a pressure point issue, yes.
It is exactly my point. What you're describing is called paresthesia. You're cutting off circulation and compressing nerves. You wake up and your arm feels like a dead fish. How can you argue this is the elite strategy when it involves systematically crushing your own limbs?
Because internal chemistry matters more than temporary numbness. Numbness fades, acid damage does not. And this is where the nuance is so critical. It really matters which side you sleep on. This isn't a coin flip, it's a matter of internal plumbing.
You're talking about gastric mechanics?
I am. The stomach is an asymmetrical organ. It curves to the left. If you sleep on your right side, the stomach is positioned higher than the esophagus. Gravity then forces stomach acid to leak up into your esophagus. Hello heartburn. Hello GERD.
So the right side is a structural risk for digestion.
It's a disaster for anyone with reflux. But if you just flip to your left side, the stomach's reservoir sits lower than the esophagus. Gravity keeps the acid where it belongs, in the fiery pit of the gut. It's simple hydraulics.
So your argument is the left side is the only viable option for digestion.
If you have acid reflux, absolutely. You are physically positioning your tank to leak otherwise. And the back sleeper, the soldier, doesn't get this gravity benefit either. Acid can easily pool back up because everything's on a level plane.
That's a strong point for people with digestive issues. But I'd counter that while you're worrying about stomach acid, you're causing structural wear and tear. That log sleeper, that rigidity on the side forces the hip and shoulder into static stress. You're trading a night of heartburn relief for a lifetime of hip bursitis.
And you're trading a night of hip relief for a potential lifetime of sleep apnea or neurodegenerative buildup. It's a trade-off. We're all choosing our poison.
Okay, so let's move to the edge cases. There's one group we haven't talked about, and I think we might actually agree on this one. The free faller, the stomach sleeper.
Ah, the rebels. The outliers. The people who face plant into the mattress.
I'd call them the victims of their own habits. Most chiropractors I know consider stomach sleeping a crime against the spine.
It's very hard to defend structurally, I will admit that.
To breathe, you have to twist your neck a full 90 degrees to the side. Imagine walking around all day with your head turned like that. You'd be in agony. Yet the stomach sleeper does it for 8 hours. This constricts the vertebral artery, which supplies the blood to the brain and puts massive torque on the cervical spine.
I agree. The neck trauma is severe. And the wrinkles, you're smashing your face into the pillow with maximum force. If you wake up looking all puffy and distorted, you can blame the free faller position for that. It promotes fluid retention in the face.
Exactly. So why would anyone do it? Why does this position even persist?
Well, because, surprisingly, it has one physiological upside. It completely eliminates snoring.
Because gravity is pulling the tongue forward?
Yup, you can't choke on your tongue if gravity is pulling it out of your throat. For severe snorers who just can't tolerate side sleeping, it's a desperate last resort. And there's a psychological component too. It feels protective. There's some evidence linking it to a feeling of being out of control. You're literally holding onto the mattress.
It is a very high price to pay for psychological security.
I agree. But this brings us to the idea of hacking our sleep. We aren't stuck with these factory settings. We can modify them.
This is where we can find some common ground. For the side sleeper, for instance, you don't have to be a tight pill bug crushing your own lungs.
Exactly. Enter the loose shrimp. It sounds ridiculous, but it's orthopedic genius. You just loosen that fetal tuck so you're not compressing the diaphragm. And then, this is key, you shove a pillow between your knees.
to square the hips.
Precisely. The pillow stops the top hip from dragging the spine into a twist. So you get the brain-cleaning, airway-opening benefits of sleeping on your side without the hip torque or the compression. It aligns the spine almost as well as your soldier position.
That's a solid modification. And for the back sleeper, the soldier, who is dealing with the snoring issue,
What's your fix for the marriage-ending noise?
well, if the airway is the only weak point, you can prop the head up slightly to open the throat. Not too high, but just enough. Or, if you need to train yourself out of it because of severe apnea, there's the famous tennis ball trick.
I've heard of this.
You tape a tennis ball to the back of your pajama shirt. Every time you roll onto your back, the discomfort forces you back to your side without fully waking you up. It's conditioned learning.
Brutal, but effective. And what about the stomach sleeper? Is there any saving them?
If you absolutely must sleep on your stomach, you have to ditch the pillow under your head.
To reduce the neck angle?
Yes, and instead, put a thin pillow under your pelvis. This flattens the lower back to reduce that hyperextension. It doesn't solve the neck torque, nothing does, but it saves the lower back from being jammed all night.
It really seems that no matter what position we choose, we're just managing a complex system of levers and pulleys. There's no zero-cost option.
And that brings us to our conclusion. I still maintain that while biology is messy, structural alignment is the foundation of physical health. If your spine is twisted, the
Here in the
quality of your
stomach,
organ function
powerful
becomes
acids and
secondary
enzymes
to
launch
the
a
immediate
relentless
pain of
assault on the food
musculoskeletal
bolus.
failure.
This
The
is
soldier
stomach
position
battle.
preserves the spine and the skin. It is the system reboot. Provided your airway can handle the gravity, it is the superior choice for long-term integrity.
And I remain unconvinced that structure can take precedence over function. The body is a living machine, not a static building. Prioritizing the brain's ability to clean itself of Alzheimer's-linked toxins and the body's ability to breathe without obstruction, that has to come first. The risks of apnea and the benefits of the glymphatic system make side sleeping, specifically that modified left side position with a knee pillow, the elite choice. You might have a straight spine, but I have a clean brain and an open windpipe.
A clean brain is valuable, certainly, but a straight spine keeps you upright during the day. However, I think we can agree that the body is incredibly smart. It usually picks the position that minimizes immediate pain.
True. If you have a bad hip, you won't sleep on it. If you can't breathe, you'll roll over. Sleep isn't just passive, it is a performance. And since we spend a third of our lives doing it, understanding these mechanics lets us make those necessary tweaks, the pillows, the positioning, to optimize our health.
Indeed. Whether you're a soldier, a starfish, or a log, the goal is to understand the trade-offs you are making every single time you close your eyes.
And hopefully wake up without feeling like a crime scene victim.
That is the hope. Thank you for listening to The Debate.